And with me today, I have Emma Goff, who is a fertility awareness educator, miscarriage and bereavement doula, and a certified SymptoPro instructor. As a mom of two and founder of Emmamma, a body literacy and cyclical wellness education platform, Emma helps women understand and interpret their body's natural rhythms from menarche through menopause, empowering them with the tools to decode fertility signals, hormonal patterns, and reproductive health and confidence and curiosity. She hosts the Cyclical Doula podcast, where she blends personal reflection with evidence-based cycle education, normalizing conversations around menstruation, charting, postpartum hormones, and the embodied experience of living with a cycle. Emma's work centers on reclaiming agency over reproductive health, supporting emotional well-being in fertility journeys, and nurturing compassionate self-awareness through cyclical living. So welcome to the show, Emma. Such an honor to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. So, Emma, it would be great for you to share a bit about your own journey. What led you to creating your podcast and just this beautiful line of work that you're in today?
Absolutely. So I grew up knowing that our bodies cycle in general. I had this general awareness of that there was power in knowing our when our reproductive system there was ovulation and your body bled every 30-ish days, right? Like that's the general knowledge. I had this general awareness of this. And I had chosen for a multitude of reasons not to use any type of hormonal birth control through my teenage years and into college. And during that time, I was like, okay, I want to learn a specific way that I can use this to really be able to avoid pregnancy or achieve a pregnancy when I want within my future marriage because I was in college at this time. And I had reached out or went to reach out to somebody to find it. And the only information that was out there was somebody's name and phone numbers. And I was like, I am not going to be calling somebody to learn more about my body. Um, that was just not who I was at that time. I was not in a state of being able to do that. And so I was like, okay, in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, someday I want to be a more accessible resource for people to be able to learn more about their reproductive systems and their bodies and the way that our cycles work. So, um, with that kind of went in the back of my head. And then my husband and I got married right out of college. And we were just kind of winging family planning. I went through a lot of emotional intelligence work, really diving into who I was as a human being and how I was responding to things. I think during that time of my first couple years of marriage, we did a lot of work individually and together about just who we are as people. And I feel like I was able to really grow in a whole aspect of that. And then after our first child, we were like, okay, we need to learn a specific method to have some more information about what our bodies are going. And
Mm.
when I learned more about what my body was, I felt like I just went into this whole new experience of just okay, I have a total different understanding of how my body works physically and therefore can relate that to everything else that's going on within my life and how that influences the way that I parent, that influences the way that I show up in relationship with my husband, with my friends, with family members, and all of those things because there's this knowledge base there now that I feel confident in knowing all about what's going on within me. And so I've really started my business just to pass this on to other people and have this knowledge base being able to be shared with them.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I just love from, your own experiences, you're now out there to share the knowledge and to help others to also not be stuck, to know that there's people out there who have been through the same journey. And
Yeah.
because we know that education is key. And because I know that you teach both education and emotional support around the reproductive health. So how has working with people through miscarriage and postpartum experiences actually shapes your own understanding of grief and healing?
Oh, yeah. So, I have an interesting experience through understanding grief in my own personal life that my mom actually had multiple pregnancy losses when I was a child. And so I experienced that as a child and from like a sibling loss standpoint. And so I feel like working with women now through our going through these seasons of just loss in general, I can really have this understanding of that we need to know more about what is happening on the like biological level of what our choices are with when there's a loss, and then also just like how our cycles come back after that. And so um whether or not people have known this before, like miscarriage or any type of pregnancy loss and postpartum look very similar cycle wise. So some people's cycles like return pretty quickly right away, and other people's takes months, years, depending on what's happening with their body. And there's not anything yet that research has shown that makes it one way or the other. So, like, for example, postpartum, like some women are breastfeeding constantly, they're breastfeeding on demand, all of those things, and they get their cycles back within a couple of weeks. And then vice versa, like some people are still doing all of that breastfeeding and they don't have cycles for years. And so like there's it's not consistent. And I think that's something that we don't talk enough about, of that there's this power in understanding how there's this time that we can just like sit in the waiting and sit in the life that we're in that moment and feel confident in that knowledge of just like this is what we can see. These are the signs that we know are happening in our body. Our body might be trying to ovulate. We might be seeing some of those signs physically with that. But then also just knowing that like a lot of it's going to be emotional of just like, okay, like if we're trying to get pregnant again, but like my body isn't cycling, like what else can we do to support emotionally, physically, all of those things to get into that space, and just being able to sit with people in that and understanding, helping them feel like they're supported in that is really what I'm working with.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. And so, like, from your own experience, sort of, what have you actually learnt about the emotional impact of reproductive loss that you wish more people understood?
Yeah, I think some a big part of it is just like the knowledge that like it is a loss. I think a lot of people are not don't really it's not talked about a lot. I think it's starting to become talked about more and more, but that when there's any type of loss, that it does have that emotional experience to it, and there's that physical aspect of being able to work through that grief, and that there's so much power in being able to understand that we can really sit with that and support women and families and loved ones through that experience with
Mm.
that. And I think that we've seen so much of just how much sitting with people and being able to like share their experiences with their loss in the way that they want to can be really powerful for their own healing journey, and therefore can just have more space to share that with others.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. That's amazing. And so, like, in what ways has your work actually challenged the conventional narratives like about women's bodies, and how do you actually help others break free from shame or fear around their cycles?
Yeah. So I think a huge part of it for my experience and what I've seen in a lot of people is that they're coming from this understanding of intimacy and intercourse and sex, of just being they a lot of people grow up in this mindset of like, ooh, like you're not supposed to do it until you get married or in a committed relationship or an adult or all of those things, that there's like this standard of, all right, like this is what you're supposed to do to get to that point. And then it just flips a switch overnight. So in a lot of like Christian communities, people are saying like, wait until marriage to have intercourse, and then they say like you're the moment you're married, like switch it over to the other side, like you're supposed to be having a baby as soon as possible, and there's not a lot of education around that specifically. So I love just being able to see people really understand their bodies in a new way and feeling like they are able to um, just understand exactly what's going on, both like biologically and emotionally and all of that stuff, because they have that understanding of just how it all works, and that there's time to just be able to um, really feel like they have that knowledge base. And so I feel like a lot of clients that I've worked with have come from this spot of feeling like there's shame around their relationships and what that's supposed to look like for a variety of reasons, but having this knowledge of just like when in a cycle they can and can't get pregnant can just give them enough awareness and confidence to really feel like they're in control, and therefore allows that to partially just go away just because they have the knowledge base and the confidence around that.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm really glad that you do that because yeah, I see it so much around me. Just there's just so much shame, isn't there? And I know that a lot of it is culturally as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cultural pressure. Do you see a lot of different cultures and how the stigma around that actually impacts their own self-esteem because it can have a huge knock-on effect on their self-esteem and self-worth.
Absolutely. I think I do primarily work with people in the United States right now because it's where I am and I'm living in this, so it's just where I've connected with people. And so I do think there's a lot of information, not only like culturally or religiously, but also just from like our government system about how people are reacting to reproductive health and the way that it kind of isn't taught in our school system, which I think is very similar across the world to some degree, of just like there's a lot of abstinence only conversation and therefore not really talking a lot about what our bodies do in general, and therefore a lot
Mhm.
of women aren't getting information about how their cycles are actually working, and therefore don't have really any knowledge base, or are constantly being told to just go on hormonal birth control because that will regulate their cycles, when in fact that doesn't regulate cycles, it just shuts down ovulation. And obviously there's a time for and a place for any type of intervention or support in regards to reproductive health, but just having that knowledge base of being able to make those choices and being informed in that consent around your reproductive choices is really important.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and I know that you mentioned earlier about the emotional patterns that you were made aware of within yourself. And we know that cyclical awareness does often intersect with emotional patterns as well as somatic embodiment experiences. How do you actually see like nervous system playing a role in how women actually experience their cycles?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest thing is that when we understand what's happening with our hormones and how like estrogen and progesterone change throughout a cycle, there can be so much more knowledge around, okay, like it makes more sense that after ovulation, when progesterone is high, and that typically is the hormone that makes us feel more like nesty and our body gets more loose, right? Like that's the predominant hormone during pregnancy. So a lot of people kind of know what that looks like. And so when we're thinking about all of that, therefore, like we know and we have this awareness of like, okay, like after ovulation, when progesterone is high, our bodies are gonna want to kind of like curl in a little bit more of being more inner, more nesting, more restful, versus around ovulation when estrogen is high, like we're gonna be a little bit more flirtatious, not only like actually
Yeah.
flirtatious, but just like in regards to confidence and being able to be willing to have conversations with other people, or maybe wanting to go out more, and just having that knowledge base can therefore, I feel like, being able to understand what's happening. I think a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, therefore I don't have like I'm not crazy in the sense of this is happening just to me. Like this is a typical cycle difference. And then having that knowledge to be able to use all of those grounding tools, all of that awareness to be able to make their body more even toned and have that regulation throughout their whole state of cyclical living, but know that there is fluctuation through that as well. And being able to understand that there are going to be that fluctuation. And so maybe you have a little bit of a different rhythm in those different times to be able to support your body better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very in tune with my cycle now. And I know that during ovulation, I'm going to be at my peak. And that's the best
Yeah.
time where I'll be getting my best workouts and where I'll be able to smash my work more,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
when it was around the period, I was like, kind of leave me alone a little bit.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
bit depleted, yeah. So yeah, that's really important for people to be made aware of. So thank you for sharing.
hmm
So do you see any like common emotional or stress responses that show up in the cycle disruptions?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people experience like PMS symptoms to the a significant degree. So a lot of people's because of these hormonal fluctuations are therefore having these significant responses. And sometimes it's just because of the hormones of that. But I think like that we also um therefore are emotionally reacting to that as well. And so when people are able to have their understanding of like, okay, like this is the time that of the cycle that I'm in and being able to support that best with nourishing their bodies well, exercising well, maybe taking some type of supplement if that's what works best for their body, then they can be in this state of regulation in a different way and being able to really sit in that different emotional state without feeling overwhelmed from that.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And we know that trauma and even medical issues or it could be societal issues or stress, internal stress. So that can all obviously impact women and how we feel disconnected from our bodies. Do you have any like practices that you find most powerful for helping women to reintegrate trust into their body's wisdom?
hmm Yeah. So, I mean, I think the first part of it is just becoming aware. So, being able to first just like become aware of what your body's doing throughout a cycle. But the biggest thing that I see is that a lot of us don't know um, that there are physical changes in our cycle that our body goes through, that there's times when there's more cervical mucus being produced or like our reproductive anatomy can like physically change throughout a cycle and really being able to focus on that and center in on like okay like this is what is happening today can really allow for people to just have that deeper knowledge base of how their bodies are working and feeling like they're more in tune with their body on a regular basis. I think one of the things that we look at the most is sensation. So just like what sensation they're feeling throughout a cycle, and whether that's like more wet and runny or dry or all of those things, you can have a lot of knowledge base around what our cycles look like in that and therefore being able to just feel like they have more knowledge of that of their body and just what they're experiencing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I guess that's where the body literacy forms the
Yeah.
foundation of your work. And so you also emphasize about the cyclical living as a mindset shift. Like, what do you think
Yeah.
that people are actually getting wrong about the menstrual cycle, and how can this, like, reframing this perspective actually support healing?
Yeah. So I think in so many cultures, women try to switch to the like non-cyclical aspect of trying to function on a daily basis, right? So we're
Mm.
trying to get to that like masculine aspect of life. And there's pluses and minuses to every aspect of those things, but living in the knowledge of like our cycles do change. There's power in those changes of seasons and
Mm.
being able to really work with that well and know that like yeah like during ovulation I'm gonna be more creative, I'm gonna want to connect with people on a different level, and then also like I can give myself a break when I'm feeling a little bit more worn down around the time that I get my period.
Yeah.
And that's good and that's helpful and that our society needs women to just like live in their full selves to
Mm.
be able to produce good things and have creation um with like physical human beings, but also just like that knowledge base of creativity with their work and their entrepreneurship and the jobs that they're in all different types of ways. Because having that time of just being able to go through these rhythms, just like our moon changes and our seasons change, like there's power in all of those things, and being able to really sit in that on a daily basis, on a cycle to cycle basis is really powerful and can really benefit everybody.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And also, we know that estrogen levels deplete as we age, right?
Yes.
And so it's interesting because even just from my own personal experience, when I was younger, I was so different to how I am now. Like I feel like, in my 40s now, I just feel so much confident, so much power. And this is linked to the lack of estrogen levels. I just feel like when you have so much estrogen, it kind of makes you a bit, what's the word? A bit more lovey-dovey, and you're a lot more kind of you have a lot more people-pleasing tendencies,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and especially with men as well, you let them get away with a lot more, and you don't really because you want to feel accepted by them. But I just feel that as we get older, a lot of that shifts, doesn't it? We then start to live our life to our own needs and to our own wants and desires, and we won't tolerate much from our partners either.
yeah, for
Have you
sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that comes with the changes of hormones and with that knowledge level of like I'm not gonna deal with it anymore. I just I'm willing to do something different.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Yeah, absolutely. It's quite interesting that. Yeah, because I was doing a bit of an analysis with a lot of my people around me as well, thinking, oh yeah, we do change with age.
Yeah,
And I do feel like,
absolutely.
which is probably why as we get older, we probably become a lot more attractive to younger men. It's just
Maybe.
because
Haven't
of
heard any research on that, but yeah,
yeah.
maybe for sure.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I absolutely love this work. So, if a listener is actually struggling with shame, anxiety, or disconnection from their body, what message of hope or practical first steps would you offer?
Mm. Yeah. First of all, I would just say, like, you know your body best, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. And I think there's this big push right now for technology to tell you where you are in your cycle or where you are in your knowledge around what's happening with your reproductive system. And I want to challenge people to remember like that they're more powerful, they have more knowledge than any technology will be able to ever tell them.
True.
But I think just a starting place is just being able to like sit in your body and like know what your reproductive system is doing and working like. So if you're listening to this and you don't know how your reproductive system works right now, first of all, like it's never too late to start learning. There's no wrong time to do that. And you can, if you're not cycling anymore for a variety of reasons, you could still learn about your reproductive system to maybe pass it on to the next generation, or things like that. But just becoming aware, and really understanding how it all works is a great starting point. And that might feel overwhelming. So just like listening to some podcasts or taking a course, reading some books, might be a good starting place.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so, looking ahead, what part of your work or message are you most passionate about expanding next, and why?
Yeah, so I am starting a program this month called Matriarch. And this is about women who are coming in, kind of what I was just saying, coming in to learn about their own bodies, and their own cyclical being, and then being able to pass that on to the next generation, whether or not they're a parent themselves, but just being able to learn more and being willing to want to share this with the next generation. Because I feel like so many people come to me and when they first learn, they say, "How did we not know this sooner?" And so that's just the goal of this program is to be able to help people feel confident to pass it on as well.
Oh, I love that. Fantastic. And so, how can my listeners find you, work with you, and learn more about your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram, the majority, but I push it over to everything else. So it's on Facebook and TikTok and YouTube as well, at Cyclical Doula. And then my website is Emmamma.com. So EMMAMMA.com. And people can find me on all of those things. They can listen to my podcast, the Cyclical Doula podcast, and yeah, reach out in any of those platforms. I'd be happy to connect.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'll be adding the links into this episode. And so it's been such a pleasure having you on, Emma. I've really enjoyed this talk, and it's such an important subject to, for everyone to be learning about. And I really do wish you luck on your journey forward because I just think it's a great initiative. And yeah, I wish you all the success with it all.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy being here.
Beautiful. So yeah, that's all we have time for today, my beautiful people. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please do reach out to Emma for any questions about anything that was discussed today, and also do connect with her and follow her on her socials. Until next time, stay blessed, my friends.